I'd like to just read a short paragraph from a piece in the New Yorker, which says Wiseman, whose career has ranged from professional magician to professor of the public understanding of psychology at the University of Hertfordshire. We talked about this before we recorded. I can't get it. Delights in demystifying magic and other mind deceptions. Of all the tricks he demystified during the evening, the audience favorite was called the Yale goal study. And I was wondering if you could describe the Yale goal study, why you think that was a favorite.
Yeah, so that's the Yale motivation study, which is this wonderful thing, which is that the researchers go apparently from Yale, I think it's Harvard actually, and maybe Harvard or Yale, I can't remember which ones. University researchers go to a school, they ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Only about 3% of the kids know what they want to be. They return 20-something years later and track them down, and that 3%, in terms of the income of the entire cohort, they represent about 70-80% of the income. I.e., it's a really good idea to focus young in terms of financial well-being later on. So I read that. Oh, great, stick it into 59 seconds, wonderful. Better track down the reference, though. I always try to get to original sources on papers. Couldn't find it. I asked my colleagues who work in those kind of areas. They had never read that paper. Eventually, I figured out, and other people figured out, it's never been run. It's a complete myth. It's all over the web. It's in many self-development books. It's in lots of talks. It doesn't exist. There is no evidence that focusing that young has that kind of impact financially. And that's what I mean about the importance of asking for that evidence. It's astonishing.
What makes it all the more astonishing is how specific the description is of this supposed Yale goal study, right? In 1953, a team of researchers interviewed, and I'm shortening here, but interviewed graduating seniors, asking them, blah, 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 did they have specific goals? And then they tracked them down, however, but 20 years later, and the 3% who had specified their goals had accumulated more personal wealth than the other 97% combined. I mean, it's very specific.
Yes.
Right?
And the reason why it's odd is that that's a longitudinal study. And so tracking down that group of kids is not going to be easy. That's going to be a well-known paper. It's very difficult to track cohorts over that kind of time period. So I thought, it'll be 2 seconds work to find it. And then you go, oh my goodness, that's it's just not out there.
Well, you know what happens too, very often, more and more so these days with technology, is you have these sort of recursive self-reinforcing myths. For instance, I'll give an example. There's this effect sometimes called the Wikipedia echo effect. So let's just say someone puts this example in fill in the blank media outlet, and they don't have fact checkers, and they don't really want to do the heavy lifting of trying to ascertain whether it's true or not. They just assume it's true because it's all over the internet. And then somebody puts that into Wikipedia with a citation. And then you can see how suddenly there's this snowball effect of citation, but there's actually no original work that proves or demonstrates any clear evidence for this. So you find also a lot of factual inaccuracies on Wikipedia that become self-perpetuating in that way, because as soon as there's one citation, then it encourages other outlets to use the same material, and on we go on the merry-go-round.
Yeah. Track down, if you can, those original sources. And I mean, often the studies do exist, and you find out that it's like the description of it has been passed on from one person to another and has been sharpened up over time. So by the end, you get this wonderful study. And when you look back at the original, it's nothing like the study that you're reading about, even if that study did exist. So absolutely, yeah, that's the importance of going back to original sources.